Joining us for more on all of this is former Texas Congressman Will Hurd. He's also a former CIA clandestine officer, so it's very good to get your take on this. Andy Weber worked for President Obama as Assistant Secretary of Defense for Nuclear, Chemical, and Biological Defense. And here's what he said, that the USSR had the largest biological weapons program the world has ever known, and parts of it have continued uninterrupted since the breakup of the Soviet Union. Russia has 3 military biological facilities that have never, to our knowledge, been visited by non-Russians. We don't fully know what they're up to. From your perspective and your expertise, do you think this is something we should be worried about?
We should absolutely be worried about it and try to be prepared to do something about this and help the Ukrainians defend against these kinds of attacks. We have seen the Russians use these types of weapons before. The groups that were supported by the Russians used this in Syria. There was thousands of these kinds of attacks that have happened in Syria. So we have to be ready for it. We have to make sure the Ukrainians are ready for this. And this shows you the fact that someone like Vladimir Putin is willing to use tools like this that kill innocent people, women, children, shows you the kind of terrible person that we're dealing with.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, if nothing else, Putin repeats his behavior.
Like bombing hospitals.
I mean, that's the way it is. Here's Zelensky now. Call for it, too. Here's the quote. I think that the threat of nuclear war, he says, is a bluff. It's one thing to be a murderer. It's another to commit suicide. Every use of nuclear weapons means the end for all sides, not just for the person using them. How much consideration have you given that so far?
Again, this is something that we have to be prepared for and to think through. I would agree that you can use a lot of words to describe Vladimir Putin, but I don't believe he's suicidal. I think one of his key goals is to stay in power until he's dead. He also wants to reestablish the territorial integrity of the USSR, and so there is a doctrine in Russian military planning called escalate to de-escalate, where they would loose one nuclear weapon in order, if they're losing terribly and feel like this is going to cause everybody to stop and rethink what's happening. Unfortunately, during all the war games we've ever done in the last 30 years, that ultimately leads to mutually assured destruction. And one of the things that I think we have to update our thinking when it comes to what we think the Russians are going to do. Look, the Russians and Putin terribly misunderstood and miscalculated what the United States would do in response to his invasion of Ukraine. He misjudged what the Ukrainian people were willing to do. He misjudged the cohesiveness of the transatlantic relationship. And at the end of the day, I think the United States of America, we need to think about first principles. And those first principles, in my opinion, is how do we defend against the loss of life? And what are we doing to make sure the Ukrainians are able to defend themselves? And how do we make sure our NATO allies are ready to do that too?
That's what the MiGs, Putin. That's what the MiGs were all about. Will you help us make sense of something that we've been thinking a lot about? Mm-hmm. We're essentially at war with Putin. You know, you think about all the javelins, and you think about what Turkey's doing with the drones, and on it goes. At the same time, we're talking about a nuclear deal with Moscow at the table in Vienna right now. Now, can you tie all this together and make sense of it?
Well, doing that doesn't actually make sense, in my opinion. And when you look at the Iranians and trying to do a deal with the Iranians, ultimately the Iranians have lied to and misled the international community almost as much, if not more, than Vladimir Putin. I think we have to have, yes, it would be great for the Iranians not to pursue nuclear weapons, but they also have to stop being a state sponsor of terrorism. They also have to stop killing our men and women that are deployed in parts around the world. So I think that's a separate entity. But to pull some of this together, we have to remember, since the end of World War II, the United States of America, our economic power and our military power, has created an international order that has led to 70 years of peace and prosperity in Europe. That peace and prosperity to Europe was great for us. It was great for Americans because we were able to sell goods and services. That increased our quality of life. And when America doesn't show leadership in this international order, you see things turn the way they have turned. And so ultimately, support your friends, right? Your friends should love you, your enemies should fear you, and you should be prepared to take tough measures in order to prevent the loss of life.
Congressman Will Hurd, thank you. Will Hurd, well said.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Please come back. We'd like to rely on you, given your background, et cetera, for a lot more.